Do you have a great slide deck that you want to use for a lesson? It can be from Google Slides or it can be from PowerPoint. Well, how do you hold students accountable when they're learning from a slide deck? How do you make it engaging? How do you assess them to make sure that they're learning the content? Both Peardeck on the left and Nearpod on the right are platforms that allow you to upload a presentation, or you can create one inside of Nearpod and then add these meaningful stopping points. Both of these platforms work great with Google because you can use your Gmail account to log into both of these platforms, and you can use Google Slides to create your presentations and add those interactive pieces through one of these two platforms. Both of these platforms can also work with PowerPoint presentations. So if you have a presentation already made, you can import it into both Peardeck and Nearpod. Some of the differences come down to the teacher dashboards and the type of activities and questions you can ask students. So let's take a look at Peardeck's dashboard first. Pear has other activities like the vocabulary builder and the pop-up activities, but for the purpose of this video, we are going to focus on creating that interactive presentation via Google Slides. When you scroll down, you have access to your most recently built Google Slide decks, and you can link to them directly through this little arrow, and you can also search your drive. You also have more options at the bottom to explore for more resources. When you open up your platform for Nearpod, this is your teacher dashboard. On the opening landing page, you will see some of your presentations. And let's go over to the left side. You have the Nearpod library. In the library, you can search for for slide decks that are already made with those interactive points, and you can search by subject, grade, and other resource. You can also search by keyword. One thing about Nearpod is that some of these slide decks are paid for only, meaning you have to purchase them to use them, and you can filter here on the left side by either free or paid slide decks. So navigating back to your main landing page, you also have other resources you can explore and then reports from students' work. How do we build those activities to make this an interactive presentation? Well, let's start with Peardeck. With Peardeck, I'm going to expand this view. Let's expand this view. There we go. And I'm going to press plus to add a new slide. And I proceed to build my slide just the way I normally would. So let's pretend that I want to use this for a do now in a class, and I'm teaching a science lesson, and I want students to draw a plant cell. Draw a plant cell and label its parts. Okay. This area, the white area you see on this slide, this is the students' canvas. They can draw anywhere on this canvas. So if I change the background of this slide, well, the students will also have a background when they are drawing that matches that color. So let me show you. I'm going to change this to yellow. Well, students now have a yellow canvas. They'll be able to draw on this yellow slide. The last step is to convert this into a draw slide. And to add that interactive activity, I click on draw. And now Peardeck is converting this slide into that interactive slide. Let's take a look at how this functions and how you create this in Nearpod. I'm going to expand it. In Nearpod, you can't really format the slide. So if I add it, I won't be able to add the draw feature to that slide. I have to go to draw. So I'm going to draw it. I'm going to add my instructions at the top. And now I can add additional resources like an image, a video, and so forth. And if I want to change the background, I have to upload the image. I'm going to press save. And now you can see that although Peardeck it gives teachers the flexibility to format their slides a little bit more than Nearpod. Nearpod has more options for activities and points to check for understanding. What do students see? Here is the student perspective for both of these platforms. With Peardeck, the teacher can enable this question to read the climate of the class or disable it, your choice. We're going to begin the lesson, and I am a student now, and this is how I'm feeling. Nearpod, I am a student and I'm going to join the session. One thing, every slide that you leave inside of the slide deck, students will see. So I left these introductory slides on here on purpose to show you that whatever you modify and whatever you leave will be visible to students. Let's begin with slide one, which is that draw slide, where I'm going to draw a plant cell. Very similar tools at the bottom, marker, highlighter, text, the line eraser. And students get really good at drawing with their mouse pads if they don't have a touchscreen device, but they can use their cell phones, iPads, touchscreen Chromebooks, and they can even use a mouse and connect it to their Chromebooks if they don't have that touchscreen ability. But you can see here, this is pretty easy to use, and students figure this out very quickly because drawing is one of the most popular features. As you can see, there is the read accessibility button, and I'm going to go over that shortly. Let's go to slide number 2, submit. Peardeck has that draggable feature, which is very useful if you are going to put up a map and students have to locate a place on the map, or maybe they have to identify something on an image. So here I'm going to drag my icon to show that, yes, I have visited an ocean. Unfortunately, Nearpod doesn't have a draggable option. So one of the closest ways you can replicate one of these questions is using the poll. Have you visited an ocean? Yes. Let's move on. The open-ended question. I want to talk a little bit about this open-ended question because these two platforms provide the teacher lots of opportunities to embed writing and authentic writing. If we start, let's look at Nearpod and let's expand it. If a teacher wants to provide his students with a vocabulary bank and frames to support them in their writing, unfortunately in Nearpod you cannot format the text, so it just becomes one giant paragraph. Now in Peardeck, however, whatever you place on the slide is visible to students. So the student can see the question, the bank, and the frames, and then they can answer in the text box. I know blank. And with Nearpod, though, you can also answer inside the text box, but you can also record your answer. I know blank. Submit. Let's go back to that because I want to talk a little bit about the accessibility tool. Both of these platforms have the read accessibility tool. So if I'm a student and I click on the icon, I can press play. The software will read the information out loud to me, and I can change. I have other options to change here. Let's go back. And this option is also available for certain slides in Peardeck. Here it is. In Nearpod, the teacher can embed 360-degree images, and students can explore the images by moving their mouse around. So right now, I am in Avila on the pier looking around. But one thing, if you notice, I don't have to leave this platform. I don't have to open a second tab. I am inside of Nearpod. Here's my navigation tools at the bottom, and I am still exploring. Let's go to Peardeck. Peardeck does not have a field trip option, but they do have the option to open a link. So using Google Earth, a teacher can recreate that field trip experience through the what do they call this? I forgot what they call this. There's an option in Google Earth for teachers to create these journeys, and the teacher can pinpoint where he or she wants students to explore. And it's a really cool tool to explore different places on the globe, but also to choose those locations. So to begin, as a student, I click on Present, and here is my first location chosen by the teacher. And now, just like on the field trip option with Nearpod, the student can use their mouse to move around and explore 360 degrees. I'm back in the teacher dashboard for both of these tools. Now we're going to take a look at the information that's collected for each one. Let's start with Nearpod. When I go to reports as a teacher, I am going to see my most recent lesson and I'm going to see the most recent student. So I am going to click on the student and here is the student's analytics. So this student completed the lesson 100% and now these are the responses. The poll, the student responded with yes, the open-ended, the student responded with I know, and the draw. And this is the student's image that he or she drew and close. Now with Peardeck, when the teacher closes the session, this means that they just end the lesson. The teacher is given the option to publish the notes for students. And so here are the responses for the student that completed the lesson. And these takeaways get linked immediately to a student's Google account because Peardeck integrates really well with Google products. So the student can go back and review their notes. They can write a summary of the presentation, and you will see as this loads that they get a copy of the question plus their response. They get a copy of the question plus their response. So, this is a very useful tool for students to review their work and to have a copy of their work. And the teacher can utilize other parts of the Google Suite, like the comment feature. He or she can add a comment and then provide students with feedback right in this document. So that is called the takeaways for Pear Deck. It's where students receive a copy of their notes. With Nearpod, students are supposed to get a copy of their notes if you have the premium feature. And because I don't have that right now, I cannot show you this. But students can get a copy of their notes.